The riverboat and the raft. You'll learn how the same quiet habit kept two very different people afloat once the big money showed up. By your guide and storyteller, Alex Carter. Imagine you're standing on a riverbank. One boat roars past with music and lights. Another drifts by with just a paddle and a map. Which one reaches the sea? The answer isn't as loud as you think. Eli Reed grew up in a double-wide outside Baton Rouge. He bought broken lawn mowers for $10, fixed them with a butter knife, and sold them for $40. By 26, he owned a small dealership. By 33, he'd invented a belt that let a mower mulch leaves twice as fast. A big box store wrote him a single check for $2.4 million. That night, Eli parked the dealer truck outside the bar, stood on the hood, and shouted drinks for everyone. He felt taller than the neon sign. Across town, June Guidry sat in the back of the library. She repaired cracked phone screens for students $5 cheaper than the kiosk in the mall. Every time someone paid, she put $2 into a coffee tin marked Future June. She never told anyone how much was in there. She just kept fixing phones, sipping tea, and turning pages in a used book about river currents. Eli bought a riverboat they called the Showstopper. He filled it with leather couches, arcade games, and a champagne vending machine. He invited friends to blackjack nights, where the minimum bet was $100. He told the crowd, "You only live once, so paddle hard." June bought a 12-foot raft, yellow and plain. She studied the river charts. She practiced flipping the raft in a swimming pool to learn how to climb back in. She packed dry clothes in a sealed drum and tied it down with paracord. Friends teased, "Where's the music, June?" She smiled and said, "The river brings its own songs." 2 years later, spring rain swelled the water. Debris swept downstream, ripped holes in fancy hulls, and jammed propellers. The Showstopper's pumps failed first. Eli grabbed a wad of cash, but the wallet slipped when the boat tilted. He watched stacks of hundreds flutter into the brown water like scared birds. The river didn't care. He swam for a cypress stump and clung there until dawn. That same night, June heard the weather radio crackle. She pulled her raft off the trailer, tied everything twice, and launched into the dark. The current shoved and spun her, but the tiny raft flexed like a leaf. She kept to the inside bend where water moves slower. At sunrise, she reached calm eddies downstream, unpacked a thermos of coffee, and let her heartbeat settle. Eli showed up at the boat ramp barefoot, shirt torn. He asked June for a ride to town. On the way, he stared at the yellow raft. "Things ugly," he muttered. "Things alive," she answered. They sat on the tailgate while emergency crews raced past. Eli asked, "How'd you keep her steady?" June shrugged. "I assumed the river could ruin me, so I tied down every loose end." Eli laughed, but the laugh cracked. "I thought the river owed me a thrill," he said. "I forgot the part about staying in it." June shared her thermos. Steam rose between them like quiet advice. She told him how she still fixed phones, still dropped $2 into a new tin, still said no to any bet that could sink her little raft. "Money is the river," she said. "It looks still on top, but it pulls underneath. Respect don't race." Eli sold the remains of the Showstopper for scrap. He used the cash to buy a simple metal skiff with a quiet motor. He painted no name on the side, just a thin gray stripe. He asked June to teach him how to tie a bowline knot, how to read the river's seams, how to pack only what floats. He started fixing lawn mowers again, happy for oily hands and steady cash. 10 years on, people along the levee tell two legends. One is about the wild boat that threw a party and vanished. The other is about the yellow raft that shows up calm after every storm. Eli keeps a coffee tin now, no label. He drops in 20% of every dollar he earns. He says it's his insurance against ego. June still fixes phones, but her tin turned into a small account that quietly buys shares of boring companies that make valves and batteries. The river treats them both the same now. It tests, it teaches, it lets the humble pass. Summary: getting wealthy asks you to push off the bank and chase the big water. Staying wealthy asks you to notice the rot in the boards, the clouds above the trees, the fact that one sudden snag can rip the whole hull apart. Humility isn't a mood, it's a life vest. Wear it early, tighten the straps, and the same river that sinks the showboats will carry you all the way to the sea.